the tabletop takeaway.
Game mechanics on display.
Three designers share the stage.
Pick a genre and we'll play
The tabletop takeaway.
Welcome back to the Tabletop Takeaway. I'm Charlie McCarran,
I'm Trevor Muller-Hagel.
And I'm Ananda Gunratna.
and this is the start of our series on trading card games. And where else to start but Magic the Gathering? Magic came out in 1993, and since then has grown incredibly as a collectible card game. And I looked up the stats because I wanted to. There's over 27,000 unique cards in the
27,000.
game. Just
Wow.
wrapping your head around that is crazy. And so how Magic works, if you've never played, it's the game where you're opening packs of cards. Usually there's around 15, I want to say.
That sounds, it's been between 10 and 16 for a long time.
Yeah, and so you get the fun of like, ooh, what could be in this random pack? And then you build a deck out of the cards you find. Usually you need a lot of packs to make a deck. And you're looking at, for one, there's 5 different colors of cards. Red, green, blue, white, and black. And they all have little different thematic things about them. Green is more like forests, and red is more mountains and fiery. Black is more swamps and
Death.
and white is more like plains and humans are
And healing and life.
Yep. And blue is more water, I guess, air and counter spells and things. We'll get into that a little more, but basically, like, each of the 5 colors gives you a different strategic path too, overall. And
Sort of like different mechanics associated
yeah,
with it.
and the reason that's important is because when you're building your deck, you need to think about how many colors to include, and paying for cards is mana. This was kind of like one of the big things that Magic invented, I guess. You're deciding how much mana to put in your deck versus cards that you can play, which are spells like creatures and instants, sorceries, enchantments, all sorts of different magic things you can do. But you have to balance that and also the mana, which is the lands that you play to pay for these cards.
And this game, we can actually say the word tap. You tap the mana.
Yeah.
This is the only game you can say it for, though, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Either way. So how there's a lot to this game. I'm not going to try to explain everything, but basically the fun and new thing that Magic did was invent this meta part of the game where you craft your deck before you actually play with someone, which was such a cool invention.
The original concept of deck building, which we had to shift to being deck construction.
Yes.
Because deck building is obviously another genre that we've even covered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's cool seeing how, all the deck builders came out of Dominion, which Dominion obviously inspired by Magic.
Absolutely,
But when someone realized, like, hey, could we do a game that feels like Magic, but you don't have to invest a bunch of money up front and build your own deck out of it?
And I just realized, kind of like how the game Role Player is about creating a character, which is one of the fun parts about D&D and RPGs. I really enjoy making characters for those RPGs, and Role Player makes a game out of that process.
Yeah.
So yeah, very similar translation. I didn't think about that until just now. That's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I've played Magic for a long time. Not like constant, but I think all of us have played at some point and then dropped off and then maybe try it. We recently played, shout out to my friends Rachel and Dan, who hosted a draft tournament, which is really fun, where we all start opening packs and then draft a card from the pack and pass it left. And that's like another way to do it. If you want to just try a more fair way to play, I suppose, versus like everyone get any cards you want from 27,000 cards. No, like the draft is kind of nice because it's like a set amount of cards.
Yeah, and just the process of drafting is quite fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I should go in maybe a little more detail to the mechanics here because I didn't explain any of that. But kind of the core thing you're doing is you're summoning creatures to play, and you're going to use the creatures to attack your opponent. Each player has 20 life, and you're whittling your opponent down to 0. And if you do that, you win. Now, you are attacking your opponent, but they can use any of their creatures to block your creatures. And so if I attack, I have to tap, like Trevor said. You turn your card sideways with any cards you're attacking with. They will deal their attack damage to your opponent or any creatures that your opponent uses to block. And each creature has an attack value and a block value. And when that happens, so say I attack Trevor with something, my attack value is compared against his block value on a creature. And so the nice thing is you can have like thematically different things, like a wall, for example. There's a thing in Magic that all walls are usually, they can attack, but also they usually have like a 0 attack value and like a high block value, things like that. There's also all sorts of, over the years, they have so many keywords like flying. Oh, only flying creatures can be blocked by flying creatures. So
Or creatures with reach, it turns out.
or reach, right? Yeah.
As I learned during the last draft.
Yeah, there's 27,000 cards. There's probably at least 1,000 keywords in there somewhere.
That sounds right.
Hundreds, maybe.
Hundreds of keywords.
Fortunately, a lot of the cards that have a keyword will put what the keyword's definition is in parentheses.
Yeah. And it's nice because if you had to re-explain every time, like, this creature can only be blocked by other creatures who can't. It would be too confusing if you didn't use keywords.
I think keywords are pretty important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the bigger cards that don't have as much space because you have a lot of things happening, you can just put the keywords on them. And hopefully the set that you've been playing in has taught you what those keywords mean, so you don't have to refer to what they do.
Well, and actually, I think so. One thing that occurs to me is that keywords are quite helpful for deck building, because deck building can be kind of overwhelming, especially if you're a new player and you don't know any of the cards. And the nice thing about keywords, as opposed to writing out the rules of a card in full, is that when you're, say, drafting or building a deck, you can look for cards that have the keyword on them and just put them into your deck on the assumption that they work well together, which is actually what I did in my draft. We're playing with the Avatar.
The Last Airbender.
Yes, Avatar, the Last Airbender themed Magic set, because now I guess Magic themes sets with all sorts of other IPs.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I
actually
I tried with this
Lord of the
Spider-Man
Rings.
one. But in any case, in this draft, I opened my first pack and I saw these cards that were talking about lessons. So I decided, okay, I don't know anything about this, but I can see that there are some cards that are lessons and some cards that care about lessons. So in this draft, I'm just going to draft everything that is a lesson or has the word lesson in its effects text. And I'm not going to think about anything else. Ooh. And that worked shockingly well. So I think one of the really great things about summarizing rules as keywords, entirely independent of making it easier to follow them, is it makes it easier to construct a deck because you can just look for the keywords. Yeah.
And they give you a little bit of thematic flavor too, that helps people understand what it might do. So like flying, for example, is pretty obvious. Like, well, you have this conception of, this is like going to be up in the air. Obviously, it can't be blocked by something just walking around on the ground.
Like a wall.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
And I had another thought on keywords too, and that idea of like trying to put together good combos of things. And I remember, so one of my favorite decks that I made had all creatures that had a comes into play effect. So if it comes into play, you kill another creature, or comes into play, you gain a life, or something like that. And it was so satisfying as a kid to like, oh, I can find every single good card like that and put it in my deck, and you feel real clever, and it's just like very satisfying to know like, oh, I'm like,
You're playing the game.
yeah, I'm coming up with the best possible cards for this. Yeah.
It gives you a way to classify a category of cards quite easily, and then find other cards that synergize with them. Because if you have one thing that synergizes with comes into play, then suddenly all of these comes into play cards will work well with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what was so fun about doing the draft too, is the first few cards you play, you might find a card that's like, ooh, this will be good with all these other cards. And then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that's, I'm going to build my deck around this one card, which is...
And then find everything that synergizes
yeah.
with it.
Yep.
Or find the things that synergize with those other cards once you're out of things that directly synergize with the cool one. It's sort of a process of just building out the synergies
Yeah.
from each of the cards that you have.
And Magic does limit you to having 4 of each type of card, which is good.
So you don't have
Like-
a million turtle ducks.
Yeah. There's also a new format that people play, which is Commander, which is 100 cards in your deck. Usually there's only 40, but 100 cards, they all have to be unique, which I think is really fun too.
Oh, interesting.
And you also start out with one, it has to be a creature that says legendary on it. And generally those cards are often like multicolors, and they have really cool abilities, and they're usually very expensive to play, but in Commander, you just get them out right at the start.
Oh, interesting.
And why is that, do you think? Why is that important for that format?
Having the card out?
Yeah, like what's the idea
Well,
of the format?
I think
guess.
it's because people love to build decks around one cool thing, and
Yeah.
you just
Specifically
get it
that.
out right away.
Yeah, instead of
Okay.
digging through 100 cards,
Yeah.
you can just have it, which 100 cards is a lot. We
Yeah.
played a draft, and I never saw some of my cards, even though I played 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So like that, for example, I would make a deck with that comes into play effect. I never did this, but if I was going to do Commander, I had a legendary dragon that had an ability that when you attack, you can like pay something to return a ton of creatures to people's hands.
oh, okay.
And then I would return my own creatures, get a ton more effects.
Oh,
And if I could just have that out at the beginning, that'd be cool.
That makes sense. It's a way to play around with a particular card.
Yeah.
I know it makes me think of, in Blood on the Clock Tower, there's a fabled called, what is it? I think the Stormcatcher, where the narrator wants to highlight a particular role, or the storyteller wants to highlight a particular role. So they tell everyone that how is it that it works? If the particular role is in play, it can only be killed through execution. The evil team can't kill them off. But the evil team knows, if that's the case, the evil team, I believe, knows who it is.
Sure.
So it's a way to ensure that the role you care about stays in the game longer without unbalancing the game.
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
Well, and as we'll find out in a future episode, other games have used that idea.
Yeah.
And Commander was not something that was intended from the beginning of Magic. Like,
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of things have evolved, obviously, over however many years. It's been around
32?
something, 33?
30, well, almost 33.
Yeah.
I like that idea, spotlighting a mechanic or spotlighting a card or a piece of content.
Yeah.
And having support in the game for that, for letting people play around with with something in a game where things can be destroyed.
Well, and if
Yeah.
you're already going to be limited to types of elements, then having a legendary that has multiple types, like you were saying, it tells you what you want to build your deck around. And so, some lands might be able to be this or that. And so having a lot of those synergies in your deck can feel really clever and feel real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense because I think, building a deck is often around one or two really cool cards that you want to explore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering if there's... So, like, we talked about how keywords can make drafting easier, or deck building in general easier. Do you think is there anything else Magic does that makes it more accessible to build decks?
Honestly, keeping, like, if you're a novice at it, just going for one color instead of multicolor, then you're not worried about, like, will I have the right type of land out? Will I have this? It'll be very easy to play, very straightforward.
Yeah, and then there's only like 5,000 cards to go through.
Right.
So,
Well, and honestly, most folks will only stick with the current set or with, a fairly recent set.
yeah.
Rarely are you going, well...
I don't know. I
New
scour
people.
the
New people.
Okay.
Well,
sure. I mean,
well,
if
buy
you're
what they
buying
can
new
find
packs,
cheap.
Yeah.
that is one thing. Like most of the sets work with each other well. Like they kind of set up for mechanics that combo. Like
Right.
in Avatar, one of the main things was the different earthbending,
Airbending.
firebending, waterbending.
Yeah.
But no swamp bending.
No swamp bending. So they had to figure out. So yeah, black gets a little bit of each.
Yeah, it pulls in from multiple.
The different types of bending didn't seem... Well, there were some associations with
Right.
particular colors, like airbending was often white and earthbending was often green, but not always.
So what was funny to me is that earthbending wasn't mountains, even though it made sense because nature more. Yeah, that was kind of a funny thing for me.
I will say I absolutely loved the earthbending mechanic.
I thought it was
Me
really
too.
cool.
So I think that was one of my favorite things from that set. So
You turn your lands into attacking creatures.
yeah, you turn your land into a creature, but it's still a land.
Yeah.
And
And
like
if
the-
it dies, it just
it's
becomes
just
a
a
land
land
again.
again.
There's absolutely no downside to it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
It's it reminds me of... Do you guys know Shalev's rule from Prismata? So
I think you told us about that at some point.
Did I?
But here,
well,
tell
sure.
the listeners.
So Shalev's rule is a principle that the design team from Prismata has, which is Prismata is a computer game. It's similar to the way that TCGs often work. You have creatures, you put them out, they fight each other, you're trying to kill stuff. Anyway, so Shalev's rule says that things which are good should always be good. There should not be a downside to doing something that is supposed to be good.
Sure.
Like, for example, I guess one example I can think of something that could potentially violate Shalev's rule is if you have some stat that's based on duration. Like, I'm thinking of Rift Wizard 2, which actually avoids this, but I won't get into how. But basically, let's say you have a spell that lasts a certain amount of time, and then you have some other effect that says, oh, your durations are doubled, and this is a good thing. So generally that seems good. Okay, it's going to last longer, but then what if you have a spell that says, well, when the spell expires, you do this cool thing. Oh. And, well, now that buff is, in this specific scenario, not good anymore. Yeah. Now, Rift Wizard gets around this because those types of spells, if you cast them again, you immediately do the good thing. Mm-hmm. But in general, this is something to watch out for, especially with, like, progression type effects, because progression's always supposed to be good. But if you have something in a game where you're progressing, you're supposed to be getting more powerful, but it weakens you in some other way, that can be a problem.
But I will say, there's some things in Magic that when you can feel clever about, because normally they're a bad thing, but you make a good thing out of it. So one big example is like cards, when they die, they go to your graveyard. There's a lot of decks that benefit from having cards in your graveyard. And so that's like part of the cool thing of Magic is finding all these quirky things that you can build your deck around that's like, this is not a good thing. Oh, wait, but maybe it is.
Yeah.
Lessons in Graveyard is how I lost every time.
Yeah, well, and I mean, turning bad things into good things is not a problem, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tricky thing is when good things become, or things that are supposed to be good, become bad things.
I'm actively bad.
But
Yeah.
earthbending is just pure upside.
Yeah.
It's you lose nothing from doing it, and it feels so good because now you've got this land. Now it can do other stuff too.
Yeah.
And there may be like enchantments and things that can target creatures that can now target that land.
Even
So
if
it may return it to your hand or something, but like that's not a huge deal. Most of the mechanics are going to be people attack it, it goes back to being a land.
yeah.
Like that's going to be the core of what happens to it.
Yeah, I thought earthbending was a super cool mechanic.
Honestly, I even thought firebending was neat because basically these units could create temporary mana during a fight so they could power your instance in that fight.
Right, but only during the fight.
But only during the fight.
Which is really good for red specifically.
Right.
Because, that was something I was going to bring up too is instants we haven't talked
Yeah,
about.
right.
Those are cards you play from your hand that can happen at any time during the game. And this might be one of the first games we've played that had a lot of interruptions.
It's a
Yeah.
crazy amount of interrupts.
To the point where Magic has to have a system for it that's called last in, first out. Which means...
That's accounting, by the way.
LIFO.
Is it? Oh.
It's a
inventory.
stack. It's
Yeah.
computer science also.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
sure. And so it gets really complicated sometimes in Magic, but it's really fun because when you can do those kind of things, like the classic one is Counterspell, which is a
Right.
blue card, or usually in blue. There's different types of counters you can play that just negate your opponent playing a card. But then someone could counter your Counterspell, and that would resolve first. And so, there's whole... Yeah.
It makes sense as a resolution system, but Magic gives you way too many opportunities to do this.
So many.
I mean, like it's not
Yeah,
just
I was watching your game with Rachel, and she had to be like, "Okay, I am done declaring attackers. Are you going to do anything?"
I mean, because it's not just cards from your hand; it's also abilities on your cards that are in play.
Yeah,
Can be used. A lot of them can be used at instant speed,
yeah,
and it's probably the game with the most interrupts of any game that I've played. I remember Mage Wars. So Mage Wars has interrupts, but it's just enchantments. You can play an enchantment, and then you can reveal it when the condition is
And
met.
you know it's there, and you know it'll happen. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, even that feels like a lot to think about. Because, of course, the thing about interrupts is that you constantly have to keep them in your mind when you're playing the game. Like, okay, now do I do this? Now do I do this? Now do I do this? Can I do this yet? And, it's also a little awkward with the timing because when your opponent does something, then, they should probably pause a moment to let you respond, but you might forget to respond and then miss that window. But that doesn't feel great because it's not a real-time game.
Yeah.
Right, technically it's turn-based, so there should be time to respond.
Right.
So there's something that's interesting about that when Magic was ported to be digital. I tried it once and I was like, oh man, this is rough.
Do you want to play this card? Do you want to play this card now?
You have to.
Do you want to play this card now?
You basically have to respond to everything your opponent does. So it was not meant to be a digital game, which is, I think, interesting to look at how games have evolved in Hearthstone or whatever. I haven't really played any, but I assume they cut out all of that.
Yes. So I've played Duelist 2. That's probably the TCG-like game I'm most familiar with, and there are no interrupts whatsoever. And I assume Hearthstone is the same way.
Yeah.
You only do things on your turn, and you can't choose to do things during your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have cards whose effects trigger during your opponent's turn,
Right.
but not because you're making choices, because that's how the card works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When this card is attacked, do this.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
And I suppose it is interesting that, Magic, there's unique quality to it that only works as a board game. when
Yeah.
you're designing board games versus video games, you kind of wonder, okay, what is it about this game that makes it better as a board game than if I just made it into a video game? Because plenty of board games are actually better as video games.
Especially if there's a lot of shuffling, upkeep, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Magic clearly is not one of them.
Yeah.
Because of the interrupt system, you cannot really get as good of an experience if you're playing it.
I feel like
on
we
a
might
computer.
get some comments about this opinion too. I'm very curious what people think about
Yeah,
it.
great. Get in the comments. That's
Yeah.
listener engagement.
Yep. Go on the Discord. Yeah.
So
I think I may have mentioned this before, but I got to work on Star Wars Destiny, and that game was really cool to see it evolve. I was an intern at Fantasy Flight, and Lucas Litzinger was the designer of that one. And the game started a lot like Magic in terms of the rounds, or your turn had a lot of phases to do. Magic, has untap, upkeep, draw,
Play a land.
play cards, attack, block, and then you get a second phase of playing cards
second
after
main
you
phase.
attack.
Yep.
Yeah, so lots of phases, and Star Wars Destiny had that too. And then Lucas came back one day and he's like, I think I fixed the game. And what he did was he changed it to every other players take one action, then the next player takes an action. Then you go back and forth taking
Sure.
actions like chess.
or Mage Wars.
Or Mage Wars, sure. Yeah. Or other games that
Or
we may play.
other trading card games that exist.
Yeah. So it was cool to see that. And I think that's a good solution for if you do want players to be able to respond to each other more often. Maybe instead of doing instants and interrupts, it's like better to just trade off doing actions.
I mean, is there any way interrupts can work? Well, I shouldn't say can. Obviously, they do work, but is
they
there a
do.
better way
And-
to do them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to diss interrupts too much because actually there's a lot of fun from them of the surprise.
Yeah.
Because it's weird because you see it in Magic as this super strategic game, but you also see it more in like lighter party take that games where it's like,
Oh, sure.
haha, I
Take
stopped
that.
you. Yeah. Like
Counter.
yep, counter. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Cancel cards is the often.
Honestly, I'd be interested in having kind of a Mage War situation.
Yeah, I think the way Mage Wars does it is
Yeah.
pretty good because it's just this one type of card.
Yeah.
And the enchantment has to be played first. So there's a limit to how many different things you have to keep track of for the interrupt. And like if you move into a zone that has an enchantment on it, there's a sort of a cue for you to ask your opponent, okay, are you going to reveal something there? I just moved into this zone.
Nope. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that, for me,
That's
I think
cool.
that's a good level
Yeah.
of interrupts.
I was also thinking how you do the spells in Mage Wars, where you have like the two preloaded ones.
Yeah.
Having like an instant loaded.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you have two cards that are instants. Those are the ones that you can play. Your opponent sees that you have two, but they don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And so that could be a fun way to have it too. If you were to make, please
Yeah.
don't make a trading card game, but if you were to make a game like this,
Why do you say that, Trevor? This is about we're doing
Well,
a series about making
this is-
trading card
we-
games.
we
Why-
are-
This is maybe
about-
something we should talk about in the third of the final episode.
yeah, we can definitely talk about this more in the wrap up. Absolutely.
But-
just as a kind of baseline, it can be very difficult to get a trading card game to a publisher and for them to create it on your behalf effectively, right? As a designer.
virtually impossible.
If you already have that relationship, then good work. You're good. Don't change anything.
But to put a positive spin on it,
Yeah.
like the Game Crafter now, I think has
they are
foil
making it so you can
packs.
do it.
Yeah, you can do foil packs and randomized cards.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that on a small scale, but I think they're doing
I
it.
have no
So,
idea. Maybe there's like a minimum order or something that you have to do, but if they're doing it just like,
Yeah.
that sounds intense. That's
Yeah.
great.
Of course, it'll be more expensive to make and people to
Hopefully
buy,
it would be
but
like
yeah.
that. If you're able to do that cheaply, I'd be really impressed.
Yeah.
That'd be intense.
Yeah, I mean, trading card games, you kind of rely on having a large player base,
Yeah.
so that they can explore the game and talk about it with each other. But you're not going to get a publisher to publish it, and if you self-publish it, you're not going to get very much reach.
It's going to be very tough unless you are super famous or have an IP that's super famous already.
Yeah.
Somehow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You beat the odds. We're pulling for you.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a shout out to another podcast because Mark Rosewater, who's been the lead designer developer on Magic for
Oh yeah.
years and years and years, and he does a Drive to Work podcast where he just talks about Magic and game design on his drive to work. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I feel like multiple times a week.
It's like the reverse of how podcasts usually work, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Talking to us while he's driving to work. Oh wow.
yeah. So check it out he has tons of episodes, and if you're really into Magic, like, it's a very cool podcast. Yeah.
So,
what are you guys thinking for takeaways?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot.
We do that here, don't we?
well, yeah, I mean, I think, well, in terms of takeaways, I guess one thing that we talked about a little bit with the Commander format, Commander, I think,
Yeah.
is the idea of spotlighting a particular piece of content in the, like, you know, you've got a game, you've got lots of content, and there's so many cool things. People naturally need to focus on one thing at a time. Otherwise, there's too much to take in. So they're naturally going to build their decks around one really cool card, right? And having a game format where that card is highlighted, I think is great. Like that should be something that you deliberately design into these sorts of high content games.
Oh yeah.
Like the way that Magic does it with the Commander format, the way that Blood in the Clock Tower does it with the Stormcatcher, just finding different ways to let players focus on a particular mechanic in the game.
For sure. And even if it like helps them guide them with their deck building or whatever it is, so that they either have abilities or energy types that they're trying to shoot for. It really can kind of help guide you in your playing style and what you're aiming for, which is really neat. I think that's really cool. Is that your takeaway?
I think that's my takeaway.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of takeaways that can be applied to other types of games now that we know that making a TCG might not be the best. But
you can twist the TCG format. It doesn't have to be a trading card game. It could be more like Mage Wars or more like Marvel Champions, where it's a living card game, or where you have expansions you can buy that are preset expansions that flesh out your experience, and then you can still have the deck building component in there. And I think that's really valuable as you get like these unique, maybe Commander-ish characters in these different decks that you buy. It's just predetermined. You don't get the loot crate excitement of gambling, and that's okay. You don't need that in every card game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think there's definitely stuff we can take away still from trading card games at large, and I can do mine really quick too.
Yeah, do it.
Make it a little easier. And this actually is a callback a little bit to, I think, our either asymmetric with Cosmic Encounters, our asymmetric series. Having a simple core, and obviously the phases is a little complicated sometimes, but really when you play those first 2 rounds, 3 rounds, you do 1 or 2 things as you're kind of getting into the flow of the game. And then the cards start to tell you how things change and how that develops. But the core never changes. And it's very simple core. And you just go through steps 1 through 5, and then you're done. And so, but maybe on step 2 now, you're doing this extra thing, or you're doing this, draw a card, oh, now I have this new card, now I can do this. And like having that, you guys know the term much better than I do. I never remember the right term. But basically, emergent complexity.
Aha! I was gonna, if you hadn't said it, I was gonna say it in this episode because I always reference Magic for that.
Yeah.
Because the idea of emergent complexity is like you have a lot of different things that have small abilities on them that can combo.
Right.
Essentially, the huge swath of Magic cards out there, you can find a card that will combo with any other card. There's a card that will be a really cool combo with even
it will
the
pair with
stupidest
something.
looking card. Like,
Yeah.
why would I want this card?
Why do I want my turtle duck to have an enchantment on it?
Yeah.
Oh, you want that turtle duck to have an enchantment on it.
Oh yeah. And in fact, I made a whole deck around ornithopters, which are a zero cost artifact that they don't have any attack strength, but you could put fire breathing on them. So fire breathing ornithopters, people made those decks where it's like you enchant this creature and now you can boost its attack strength by paying more mana.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, so you can combo anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe my takeaway would be, well, it was going to be one thing. I'll say maybe two takeaways.
Turtle ducks?
First, yeah, that card was really fun. Only cost 1, and it was 0/4, and
Yep.
then you could pay
Three colorless.
to pump it up to 4/4.
Yeah.
But
Turtle ducks for the win.
yeah. And I think one takeaway for me is the color pie. Mm-hmm. Because thinking about how when you have 5 different factions, I guess, in your game, and they all still feel very different from each other over the course of Magic's life, they still kind of stick to
The core identity.
the core identities.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just the idea that when you're deck building, it's so fun to think like, well, I should have a deck that's each color.
Yeah.
And I should have a deck that's this combo,
Each combo.
and this combo, and this combo, and this combo.
I did a 4-color deck.
Yeah, it was.
And it went
I
shockingly.
can't believe that worked.
I won 4 out of the 7 games I played.
Wow.
It was great.
I'm glad you didn't follow my advice.
I mean, it's not too bad because there were several cards that gave you wild mana effectively.
Yeah.
That I took deliberately. The reason that I did a 4-color deck is because the lessons I wanted were spread out across a bunch of different colors. Mm-hmm. So I just looked for cards that would help compensate for having 4 different colors, but also each card only uses like 1 or 2 mana from a given color.
True.
So you don't even need that many lands.
Yeah. As long as you can get those colors through your deck, and that's actually the harder part.
Yeah.
Is making sure you get the right type. But if you have colorless or like wild effective mana, then that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I did, as you were talking, Trevor, I did have a secondary takeaway
Great,
that is related to when you were saying like about how you learn in asymmetric games, you kind of like learn one piece at a time, and they can. I don't know exactly what you're saying, but it made me think about
I don't know
how
either,
you have
it's
to
fine.
build your deck with both low cost things and high cost things, and it's like very fun to figure out like, what should be the balance, because these cards are not that good, but I know I need a lot of them because I won't be able to spend a lot of money right away.
The power curve,
The mana curve.
the cost, the mana curve.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's one thing I also didn't explain, but anyone who knows Magic knows you can only play 1 land per turn, meaning you're going to only be able to play a thing that has a 1 cost in the first turn. And so you're slowly ramping up. And I think that's one of the brilliant things about Magic that we kind of take for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
But
Most of the TCGs and the digital ones too use that. Like in Duelist, you that's definitely something you have to think about. Is how in Duelist you just get a new mana crystal every turn, so you don't have like specific land cards, but you do have to think about, okay, I need to have some things that cost 2 because at the start of the game I want to get some things out immediately.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, Charlie, what you were talking about with the color pie, I've used that a little bit in Junkernauts, which is my game where you build robots and they fight each other. Because I have 4 factions, and each faction specializes in different mechanics. So
Different factions now?
yeah. Oh, I haven't
man.
told you about this.
I haven't seen this now.
Yeah, like there's the Slumber Syndicate who are sneaky ninjas who can teleport and avoid counterattacks. And
We have to
then I've
remind
got-
the listeners, these are appliances.
Yes, they're appliances.
Yeah.
And then there's like the Lounge Legion where they don't move a lot and they're good at mind controlling opponents and stuff like that. And it's a super fun way to design different factions, just to give them mechanics-based identities.
Nice. So, are you saying you're going to turn it into a TCG,
No,
collectible minis game?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
But
Look out, Warhammer
this
40K.
is something. But I guess the point is, this is something that can be applied to games that are not
Yeah.
TCGs, also.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of games, you want to give factions identities, and I guess it's more useful for games where there's some element of construction, where
Yeah.
you get to construct either before the game or during the game in some way your factions. But
Yeah.
it's nice to give the different factions identities.
Yeah, and it's almost more about what colors can't do. I've heard
Yeah.
Mark Rosewater talk about that, where it's like, yeah, there's so many different abilities out there. Like, it's too hard to say like, oh, this faction is only going to
Yeah.
do these things, but it's more like, okay, counter spells is pretty much only going to be blue. I don't think there's any other colors that use that.
Maybe in one set somewhere out
It's
there.
probably
There's
they've
27,000
experimented
cards.
with it. Yeah.
Well, and there's actually one other thing that you can play around with, which I do in Junkernauts, which is the costs of abilities. Because so each of the factions that I have in Junkernauts has mechanics associated with it, but it also has a particular type of requirement associated with some of its abilities. And what I mean by that is they can do things which are normally done by other factions as long as they meet the requirement. For example, the Lounge Legion has a requirement called Steady, where an ability is only active if that robot didn't move that turn. And the effect that they get could be all sorts of different things, but they can only access it if they fulfill their faction-specific requirement. Or the Slumber Syndicate has a requirement that's only met if the bot is hidden, meaning no other bot has line of sight to it. So you can play around with costs, too, as a different way to get different mechanics into a faction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, anyways, that's Magic the Gathering. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and yeah, hope you get to play Magic sometime too.
Hey, thanks for listening to The Tabletop Takeaway. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. So please tell your friends and visit our website at thetabletoptakeaway.com, where you can suggest games and mechanics for us to cover next on the show.